Order is the first law in heaven. This is the manifesto of Pastor OBUESI AGAPE, setting forth the vision, commitments, and administrative priorities of Pastor OBUESI AGAPE as candidate for Secretary General of the UGA General Assembly (UGA) in the election scheduled for 21st March 2026. Dear fellow citizens of Umueri Okebo, this is my pact with Umueri. The challenge before me as Secretary General of UGA General Assembly (UGA) can be summarized in one central purpose: to so elevate the prestige, efficiency, and institutional strength of the office of the Secretary General and of the UGA itself, that service in the Executive Committee once again becomes a high honor, eagerly sought by the very best of Umueri's considerable human capital at home and in the diaspora. It is my intention that by the end of our tenure, the offices of the UGA ESCO will have become so structured, so credible, and so functional that capable Umueri sons and daughters everywhere will gladly answer the call to serve. My vision consists of two complementary responsibilities. As a community leader, I will continue the work I have long been privileged to do, serving as a rallying point for all Umueri people, irrespective of philosophical convictions, political leanings, or social alignments. Elected or not, I remain committed to being a bridge of love among our people. However, elected, I will be able to do officially and so more efficiently what I have been doing unofficially, bringing together Umueri brothers and sisters so that holding one another's hands, we may march in unity of faith and love toward the Umueri of our collective dreams. In this regard, I will work with my colleagues in the forthcoming administration to secure effective and efficient interventions in the following key areas, to mention but a few. As regards external security, for the most part of the first half-century of my life, I lived and worked outside Umueri. Yet for most of those 50 years, whenever I heard news from home, I felt like Nehemiah must have felt in his days away from Jerusalem. For the news from home was invariably the same as Nehemiah received from the safety of the palace at Shushan in Persia, where he lived. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. That's from Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 3. Like Nehemiah, I was worried naturally. In fact, when I did respond to the call and came home, it was worse than I had imagined. Our community was indeed like a city with broken down walls, and the enemy stole and plundered whatever their hands could reach. With faithful colleagues, we rolled up our sleeves and went to work. A lot has been achieved, a lot restored. But the enemy is not yet caged, for our walls are still broken here and there, and the enemy is still bold and undeterred. Elected, I will continue with my colleagues to work with patriotic Umueri people and all lovers of peace to rebuild the external walls of our community and secure for ourselves and our posterity peace all round and peace at last. As regards internal peace building, I take personally the words of the prophet Isaiah: "Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of parts to dwelling." That's from Isaiah chapter 58, verse 12. Umueri, I intend to answer that prophetic call and to be remembered as the repairer of the breach and the restorer of parts to dwelling in Umueri. We have an urgent need to repair the breaches in the ranks of Umueri. We have taken the first step toward all-round peace and security by recognizing above the need to mend the broken walls of Umueri and to keep outside enemies at bay. But how can we even begin to attempt that without first dealing with the internal dissonances and vexing the economies that continue to weaken us and leave us vulnerable to spoliation by enemies within and without? It is beyond argument that Umueri, as presently constituted, is fractured. Witness the needless bickering currently simmering among our people over the distribution of offices in the UGA EXCO. Umweri is fractured and deeply, and any effort to ameliorate the situation must needs begin with a sincere appreciation of this shared reality. I am also convinced that there is no way for us to negotiate our way across the confounding dilemma of our community's fast descent down the Hobitian slope, or to mitigate the dire consequences it portends for our land and people without first confronting this gorgon said. It is as Jesus Christ stated in Mark chapter 3, verse 25, and alluded to by Abraham Lincoln in his first nomination address. I paraphrase. This community cannot longer endure broken into little bits, split along primordial fracture lines. One brother says I'm Ezi, another says I'm Ikenga, another still says I'm Ivite. Umweri Molomo, a house that is divided against itself, cannot stand. Elected, I will work with my colleagues to engineer an effective process for a peace that will endure, to pull our community back from the precipices and to restore us to the path of true peace and meaningful progress. As regards infrastructure development and upgrade, there is another sense in which the walls of Umweri are broken down. It is captured memorably in the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 28. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. Indeed, the walls of Umweri, the entire security architecture, the CCTV infrastructure, the walkie-talkies, the water boreholes installed at great cost, the power installations, including the few transformers provided by a reluctant government and by individual and community effort, all are in shambles, rendered in some cases completely inoperable by our own people and the accomplices they invite in from outside and shelter among us, whose uncontrollable greed and ravenous appetite for substances they have no business meddling with so rob them of control of their minds that they turn upon themselves and their community, like the hunter's dog that suddenly goes mad and turns upon his master. That's from Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. Once elected, I will work closely with my colleagues and well-meaning Umweri sons and daughters to develop what we can and to restore and, where possible, upgrade what we can of our community's infrastructure. This is possible, and as God gives grace, we will accomplish it. As Secretary General, I will establish a properly structured secretariat and a proto-archive for Umweri within 1 month of assumption of office. The Civic Center already provides office space. That space will become functional. The Secretariat will operate during working hours. I will work from the Civic Center and encourage other officers to do so. With 1 or 2 office assistants, meeting logistics will be professionally managed so that meetings will start and end on schedule. Minutes of meetings will be prepared promptly and be ready within hours of the conclusion of meetings. Records of past administrations will be preserved safely and systematically. The Secretariat will serve all members of the Executive Committee, freeing them from administrative drudgery so they may focus on the purpose for which they were elected: leadership. In today's world, data is power. No progressive community can plan effectively without understanding its numbers, structure, and capacity. Accordingly, I will initiate the transition of UGA into a digitally structured, future-ready institution where decisions are driven by accurate records, transparency, and accountability. This will include establishing a centralized Umweri data management platform, creating a functional, user-friendly website, developing a structured digital record system, and preserving our heritage while positioning Umweri strategically for the future. This I will do and more as God helps me. I am your candidate, and this is my promise. Transformation. Ifedishaya di Umweri. Thank you and God bless you. Pastor OBUESI Ben AGAPE, your candidate for Secretary General, Umweri General Assembly in the forthcoming UGA elections.